It's Ash from Super Videos, back for another video for Season 10 of The Walking Dead. This is going to be a breakdown of both the third sneak peek that they released for the premiere of Season 10, 1001, called Lines We Cross, as well as the breakdown of a new teaser trailer that they released called Panic Rising. So I'm going to go through first the sneak peek and then the teaser trailer. Now I'm not going to go through every single dialogue in the sneak peek, but I do want to cover a little bit of it, which I thought was very interesting. So this third sneak peek actually takes place in Negan's cell. So we have Father Gabriel showing up. He teases Negan a little bit, tells him, I always thought you loved being in the outdoors, but it seems like you basically ended your shift early from picking vegetables and you came back to your cell. Negan, after he kind of responds to Father Gabriel teasing him, he says, it's starting. And he says, people get mixed up who they hate. Yesterday, I was public enemy number 1. Now I'm the guy that picks the vegetables and takes out the trash. I'm okay with that, for now at least. But until this whole thing passes, I'm gonna keep my head down so people don't move me from the proverbial semi-offs category to the category of them. So I think the message that I got from this is that Negan is basically saying, before I was public enemy number 1, I was the threat, I was the big bad, I was the boogeyman in a way at Alexandria and the other communities. I was hated by everyone. Now I'm the guy that's taking out the trash, that's picking out the vegetables. I'm the guy that's doing all the work around Alexandria. And he says he's okay with that for now. But later on, he's not going to be okay with that. He's going to want to get out. He's going to want to help out. Not necessarily rule a community, but he wants to basically have the same rights as everyone. He thinks that, he's served his time. He's basically served his sentence. And at this point, he should get out. He should be trusted by everyone and he should get the same rights. And then we have Gabriel saying that's not what's happening here. So he's basically saying, even if you get out, you're not going to be like everyone else. You're not going to be treated the same way as everyone else. And then Negan says, I didn't say it is, I'm saying that it will. So he's basically saying that it will get to that point, whether some people, including yourself, want it or not, which is very, very interesting. And I think, like I've said before, they are slowly planting the seed for redeeming Negan and for Negan to be in a situation where he does something that's going to earn everyone's trust that he doesn't have at this point. At least not within everyone. There might be a few people here and there that trust him, but characters like Michonne, like Daryl, they may not necessarily treat him the same, even though they're learning to be okay with him, staying alive. They may not necessarily want to trust him, want to put him in a position where he might potentially gain power in the future. So I thought that was very interesting. And then he follows that up with, you see the boogeyman just snuck his gnarly skin-covered mask out from behind the closet door, and people are putting their shitting pants back on. That was actually in the trailer, and he's obviously referring to the threat of the Whispers. Public enemy number 1 is the Whispers, and I can be of value more if I'm outside and helping than if I'm inside the cell. So I think that's the message he's really trying to get across, which is very, very cool. Now moving into the teaser breakdown. So the teaser is called Panic Rising. It's related to the panic of the Whisper's threat, and it has some sort of like a Cold War feel to it, this whole trailer or teaser. So the teaser starts with this shot of Aaron, Yumiko, and Connie, I think, and Michonne and the others. They're just basically passing by. Then we have this shot of Aaron picking up what seems to be the animals, like skin. So it seems like they are in Whisper territory. Or maybe the Whispers have crossed the borders, not abiding by their own rules, because to them, all the territory is theirs in a way. It could be a little bit of that as well. But Aaron says, we've all been acting like it's normal. And then we get this shot, Silence the Whispers, spray painted on the wall. But what I thought was absolutely fascinating, and I didn't even put 2 and 2 together, is that this house where they're spray painting this belongs to Lydia, or she's living there. So saying Silence the Whispers on her door, it's basically a clear message to her. So you need to leave because you are a whisperer. So we need to silence the whispers. That I thought was absolutely amazing and interesting. And I think that there's a lot of things they could do with that. In the comic book, they didn't necessarily go there in terms of Lydia's story arc. But I feel like that's very interesting. Tensions being there because Lydia was a former whisperer. And even though some people trust her and they believe her and see her as their own, others may not feel the same way. So in the background, Aaron says, holding her breath for months. Obviously, I think that's related to Lydia. So he's saying she's been dealing with this thing for months. She's basically hold her breath. She's not said anything because she feels like an outsider, but it has to end. So it seems like Aaron is going to be in favor of tackling this problem of people putting messages on the walls, on the doors, and trying to kick Lydia out. So that's very, very interesting. We have this shot of Aaron and Michonne together, and then this shot, Daryl is in the background. So Michonne says, we do not need to start a panic. So I think this goes back to the conversation before where Aaron says that, she's been holding up her breath for months and that we should just do something. So Michonne is saying, maybe we should not start on that right now because it's going to start a panic that we don't want to have or we can't handle necessarily. So I thought that was very interesting. And then we have this shot of the whispers. I think this is connected to the shot that we see after, but Michonne says we have to keep our cool or they win. At this point, she doesn't want any conflict. She wants to follow the rules and she wants to tackle the problem strategically. She wants to get back at the Whisperers strategically. And then this is the shot that I said was related. So it seems like the Whisperers are watching Alpha and then Alpha raises her arms to signal something, or it could be like part of a ritual or something, but someone is kneeling in front of her. It seems like it could be like a whisperer. And that's very interesting because it seems like the Whisperers are like a cult in many ways. So they have like rituals like this. And kind of like when someone gets knighted, maybe this is the Whisperers' way of giving someone their power. Maybe this is Gamma. Maybe this is when Gamma earns her title. That could be part of it. And then we have this shot of Aaron. It's a pretty epic shot of him putting his mechanical arm in place and says, I'm sick of being nice. Now that was something that they actually brought up in the early reviews of the premiere. Aaron is no longer the nice guy and he wants to act, and that's very interesting, and I think this is related to that. Then we have this shot of Beta in some sort of building. It zooms in, nothing there. Then we have this shot of Daryl and some survivors around. At this point, this is related to this shot, so they are facing off with the Whisperers. We can see the Pikes. So we have Alpha here, Whisperers here, we have Laura, Xavier, we have Michonne, we have Daryl, maybe Carol and some other survivors are going to be there. Not sure if this is part of like a negotiation. It's very, very interesting. Then we have this shot of Alpha talking to most likely Beta, saying the border, it will crush them. Even though the Whisperers are saying as long as you don't cross our borders, things are going to be okay. Specifically Alpha, she wants to retaliate. She wants to crush them all. So that's very, very interesting. And I think that's what Aaron and some of the other survivors may be noticing, that, it's not going to be like this forever. She's going to want to retaliate at some point in the future. And then we have this shot of Alpha and Gamma. It's a pretty cool shot between them. Alpha puts on her mask for her, which is very interesting. It's odd. Not exactly sure the relationship between Gamma and Alpha, whether they're sisters, whether they're relatives or something, but that's very interesting. Alpha doesn't usually do this to everyone, so that's very interesting. Then we have this shot of walls coming down at Alexandria. Michonne walks up to see what's going on. She sees walkers approaching. Now we don't know whether there's any Whisperers with them. There could be. But it's very, very interesting. Then we have this shot of Carol saying, bitch has to die, referring to Alpha. This was in the trailer. And then we have this shot, which is at the hilltop. The walls are down and walkers are getting into the community. So it seems like maybe the Whisperers did something to sabotage the walls, and the walls came down and the walkers are basically getting in. There could be Whisperers among the walkers. Imagine how threatening and crazy that would be if the walkers are in, they're trying to kill the walkers, it's chaos, and then some of them take out their knives and stab people. That's very interesting. It seems like they're actually following the comic story as far as Hilltop getting attacked by the Whisperers and the herd. So that's very cool. Then we have this shot of some more walkers, this shot of someone spray painting the message, silence the Whisperers. There's been a lot of speculation who this is. Sadiq is one of the candidates, but not exactly sure who it could be. We'll have to wait and see. Then we have this shot of Gamma, and then this shot, which I thought was cool. It's a quick flash, you might miss it, but it seems like Kelly is injured. So we have Connie, Kelly, and Yumiko, and they're basically bringing Kelly in to the Hilltop, and she is injured. So that's very interesting. Then we have this shot of Beta and some Whispers, Daryl and Dog. It seems like Daryl is injured, if I'm not wrong, which is interesting because I see blood there. It could be someone else's blood, but that's interesting. And then we have this shot of Carol and fire around. So it seems like this is connected to the forest fire. So based on our previous videos, it seems like there's going to be a satellite crash in the premiere, which is going to cause a forest fire, and they're going to have to deal with that. So this is related to that. Then we have this shot of Judith and people in the background, they're training. This is obviously at the ocean side. This shot of forest fire. Then we have this shot of Ezekiel. He seems kind of surprised or panicked in a way, looking outside his window at Hilltop. So maybe this is when the herd gets in to the Hilltop. So that's very interesting. This shot of Alpha running in the woods. And then this shot, which I thought was very interesting. So Daryl has his crossbow pointed at Magna. Now, if you go back to the character bios for the characters in Season 10, there's some hint that Magna might not necessarily be sticking with everyone else. She might be doing her own thing to keep her own people safe. So there could be some tension there, and I think this could be related to that. So Magna could have done something that sabotages the plan or puts everyone's safety at risk, and Daryl is not having any of it. So that's very interesting. And then we have this shot of Michonne and Judith. They're killing some walkers. Pretty cool shot. This shot of Michonne, I don't know who's in the background. I think that's Carol and Eugene, but I could be wrong. But she has this panicked face. That's interesting. Not sure what to make of that, but she seems like she's surprised or disgusted or something. Maybe it's related to a character death, maybe not, but it's very interesting. And then it ends with this shot of Alpha smiling, holding one of the pikes that's most likely part of the border that they've set up. That's everything that was in the teaser and the sneak peek. I hope you guys enjoyed. That's it for this video. See you next time for another super video. If you like what you see, press like, subscribe for more content, and press the bell button to receive notifications for daily uploads.